Welcome to Call Wiz. Today we are walking AMD Advancing AI 2026, Lisa Su's San Francisco keynote, slide by slide, with the full event context, so this is analysis, not a dry read aloud.
Biggest show they have ever run, she said. Partners, developers, the whole ecosystem in the room and online. Let's see if the Agentic era thesis holds when we stack the numbers against the live color.
Opening frame is straightforward. Advancing AI 2026, Volume 1 Keynote Recap out of San Francisco. Subtitle Building the Compute Foundation for the Agentic Era. Lisa Su on stage for an investor and executive briefing tone. Dramatic, confident, design forward.
She called this her favorite event of the year and AI the most important technology of the last 50 years. Early innings, progress every few months beyond imagination, healthcare identifying drug candidates faster, science solving problems that felt impossible a few years ago, work changing across every industry. Then she pivots hard into the inflection.
The inflection point. AI moving from answers to action. Agentic AI pushing inference to tremendous scale. Agents that free thousands of employees from smaller tasks. A car that handles a new city like a local on day one. An agent that pinpoints disease across millions of cells and designs a cure.
35 quadrillion tokens consumed monthly, 160 times growth in 2 years. 60% of global AI compute now inference versus training. 2026 is the first year inference surpasses training worldwide.
Lisa's line lands the scale. We've built more AI computing power into a single data center than existed on Earth a decade ago. Live, she walked the curve, training still up roughly 5 times a year, better reasoning, specialized models, and her belief there is no one perfect model. But the bigger shift is inference because billions of people use AI daily. Agents accelerated that over the last 5 or 6 months. Give a goal, it reasons, calls tools, accesses data, loops until solved. Lots of GPUs for reasoning and lots of CPUs to orchestrate every step.
That is a step change in compute demand, not a gentle slope. If agents go from millions to billions of digital employees, both sides of the rack have to scale or the story breaks.
Market opportunity. Roughly a $2 trillion total TAM by 2030 for high performance and adaptive computing products at about 40% CAGR, approaching the size of the entire semiconductor market today.
AI accelerator market 1.4 trillion by 2030, up from a 500 billion projection last year. Lisa said that earlier number already looks conservative. Server CPU market 200 billion by 2030, over 50% CAGR, up from 25 billion today. 60% inference share again as the agentic marker.
She was candid. They revise these every few months off customer conversations. GPUs still the vast majority because algorithms are young and programmability wins. But Agentic AI created an entirely new growth vector for server CPUs. Hyperscalers said inference up means more CPUs. Last year, the frame was maybe 18 to 20% CAGR towards 60 billion. Now, over 50% to over 200 billion. That is the number that should make CPU investors sit up.
Bull case writes itself if those CAGRs stick. Bear case is the slide keeps moving. How much of the 2 trillion is firm backlog versus aspiration? We pressure that when the partner gigawatts show up.
AMD's strategy: 3 priorities, 1 mission. Push the boundaries of high performance AI computing to help solve the world's most important challenges. Pillar 1: Compute leadership, broadest set of engines in the industry. Right compute for the right workload across CPUs, GPUs, networking, and adaptive computing. Pillar 2: Open platforms, hardware standards and software, heavy ROCM investment as the force multiplier of community collaboration. Pillar 3: Powering AI everywhere, data center, enterprise, PC, and the physical world.
Never been in a better position, she said. Broadest portfolio, strongest roadmaps, deepest partnerships, consistent multi-year strategy. Live, she stacked proof under the pillars. EPYC already on the most important workloads. Record 46% server revenue share last quarter, more than 60% of the Fortune 100 on EPYC. Instinct across the largest AI labs, clouds, startups, national labs, and sovereign AI builds.
Product launch: Helios, the industry's highest performance AI rack, now in full production, shipping third quarter 2026. Complete rack scale system built to train and run the world's most demanding frontier models. Every chip purpose built. MI 455 GPU for compute, Venice CPU for orchestration, Pensando and Vulcano for scale out and scale up networking over Open Ultra Ethernet and UA Link.
Rack specs: 18,000 plus CDNA 5 compute units, 4,600 plus Zen 6 cores, 31 terabytes of HBM4 per rack, 75 GPUs on UA Link, TSMC 2nm and 3nm, MI 455 alone, 320 billion transistors, 432 gigabytes of memory, 12 compute and I/O chiplets, 3D chip stack packaging.
Lisa did the full chip show and tell. She joked she is sometimes the Vanna White of chips. Instinct EPYC Pensando. The enhanced accelerator module integrates GPU, memory, power delivery, high-speed interfaces, system management, and cold plates into one compact, serviceable, liquid-cooled module. Compute trays carry Venice and Vulcano, up to 6 NICs on a board, 2 boards per tray, plus 6 dedicated networking trays tying 75 GPUs together with UA Link over Ethernet and partner silicon. Open ecosystem is the point. Customer demand extremely strong, shipments on track end of Q3, ramping Q4 and the second half. Those production trays weigh more than 160 pounds and stand less than 2 inches tall.
Performance and value versus competition on the slide. Plus 15% compute, plus 50% HBM4 capacity and bandwidth, plus 50% scale-out bandwidth, up to 30% more tokens per dollar than any competing rack. Gen-on-gen versus MI 355, 4x throughput at low concurrency, 34x at the highest concurrency, up to 18x more tokens per dollar. Benchmarks are DeepSeek V4 Flash on Helios, system level, power constrained.
Liv, she stressed power is the real limiter in data centers right now. Fixed rack power comparisons across high throughput and interactive inference showed Helios averaging 10 to 15% more performance than the competition, which is how they land the up to 30% tokens per dollar claim. Serve far more users on the same investment. The enterprise budget conversation as AI spend climbs every month.
Asterisk stays on the table. These are AMD's system-level numbers on their chosen model under their power envelope. Buyers will rerun on their own traces. Still, 34x at high concurrency and 18x tokens per dollar gen-on-gen is the leap that, if it holds in the field, changes refresh math.
Venice, 6th Gen EPYC, now in full production, built for the Agentic era. Zen 6 cores, TSMC 2nm, up to 512 threads per socket, one architecture spanning dozens of chips. Venice HF for AI host nodes, 96 cores, 8 chiplets times 12 cores, up to 5 GHz, I/O and memory bandwidth tuned to keep GPUs fully fed. The CPU shipping inside Helios, Venice 256 core for agent sandboxes, 512 threads, highest density in the industry, most agents per watt per dollar per rack. Venice 128 core for enterprise and general purpose, lower power, best perf per dollar for databases, app servers, classic workloads.
1.8 times performance versus Turin, one of the largest generational gains in EPYC history. 203 billion transistors versus leading ARM, 3.3 times perf per watt at rack level, 2.8 times agents per watt at chip level, 20% higher per core performance. Live, she split the server world cleanly. GPU hosts need speed and fast I/O. Agent sandboxes need density for thousands of concurrent agents executing code, calling tools, querying data. Enterprise needs efficiency. only portfolio she claims leads across all three. Chiplet architecture is the weapon that makes the family. Next year, they add Verano for more efficient AI host nodes with lower power memory and faster CPU to GPU interconnect, plus Venice X with 3D V-cache for technical computing. Broadest EPYC launch in company history. Every major OEM and cloud on track for Q4. Strongest demand they have ever seen for a new generation.
Software compatibility got real airtime. Agentic AI is like adding thousands of employees into existing enterprise workflows, and that software runs on x86, density plus per core plus compatibility. At rack level, OEMs are offering spectrums from roughly 25,000 to 50,000 cores, so customers match power and space, versus the best competitive x86 on GPU host data movement. She claimed up to 1.8x more tokens per second, more than twice the agents per watt in sandboxes, more than twice perf per watt on general purpose in a 100 kilowatt rack.
ROCM.ai new platform launch, making every developer a ROCM super user. An agentic AI platform for AI-assisted GPU programming through the coding agents developers already love. Cursor, Claude, Codex.
Hyperloom optimization layer analyzes workloads, tunes kernels, selects parallelism strategies, iterates toward performance goals. 14,000 models optimized in a single sweep. AI native developer interface so those agents understand ROCm natively. Measured on MI455, 3.3x speedup over ROCm 7 on DeepSeek, 2.4x average training speedup, 38% more tokens per second on Minimax M3. Headline hardware delivery, 20 terabytes per second memory bandwidth, and 20 petaflops of compute, highest demonstrated compute plus memory capabilities of any accelerator platform in the industry today, measured, not theoretical.
Vamsi Bobana owned the software soul of the keynote. Release cadence now every 6 weeks, was every 4 months. Deep open source posture with day zero enablement across Hugging Face, PyTorch, JAX, VLLM, SG-Lang. Inside AMD, engineers are already using models to generate kernels, optimize, and debug, sometimes better than hand-tuned code, which is when skepticism turns into a double take. Live demo energy. Tell it to optimize Minimax M3 with Hyperloom. Watch the agent write a more optimized MoE group gem. Land that 38% tokens per second lift. Then deploy DeepSeek V4 Pro, a 1.6 trillion parameter frontier model, on Helios through a Codex front end, poem and all. Philippe Tillet from OpenAI, creator of Triton, said agents are taking over kernel engineering work and that AMD's Open LLVM and compiler stack lets them push optimizations a fully closed stack would block, down to scheduling instructions in assembly. They also flagged MI430X for HPC, native FP64, 288 teraflops, nearly 9x better than competition on that metric. Same leadership memory as MI455, shipping first half 2027, already chosen for sovereign exascale AI factories, including Discovery at Oak Ridge and Alice Recope in Europe.
Strategic partnerships powering the frontier. Anthropic, OpenAI, and Meta committed to multi-gigawatt AMD deployments built on close co-design of silicon, software, and rack-scale systems.
Anthropic, up to 2 gigawatts of Helios. Tom Brown, co-founder and chief compute officer. Helios is an amazing machine, absolutely fantastic. Their evaluation story is the clip that will travel. One engineer, a rack of MI355, connected it to Claude, asked Claude to bring the machine up, left for the weekend, came back to a performance graph climbing. Co-design on scale-up architecture and chip-level security across chip, server, rack, and network. OpenAI, 6 gigawatts of AMD infrastructure. Sachin Katti, head of infrastructure. first to bet on Instinct, started on MI300, expanded to MI355, now Helios. Hands on Helios racks months ago, engineers side by side running GPT-class workloads, deploying Helios at massive scale toward the end of 2026 and accelerating through 2027. Quote, "We need platforms that can scale with how quickly the capabilities of these models are scaling." Joint research on AI recursive kernel optimization, AI improving the systems it runs on, Meta, 6 gigawatts multi-generation, Santosh Janardhan, head of infrastructure, 4 EPYC generations from Milan to Bergamo to Turin to Venice, Instinct from MI300 to 355 into MI450, lead partner on Venice and MI450. CPUs and GPUs are conjoined things. You hand off workloads depending on the workload. His crystal ball, stop thinking about systems in isolation, co-designed today for 2027 and 2028 because data centers and silicon both take years.
2 plus 6 plus 6 is 14 gigawatts of announced partner deployments, the credibility anchor under the market slides. Every partner stressed open, heterogeneous, early co-design. Predictability and scale are why they say they choose AMD.
Customer wins beyond the frontier labs. Production today. AT&T, 1 trillion plus tokens per month, 100 plus Gen AI models in production across the enterprise. OTel 2.0 Open Telco AI model trained on AMD, 18 million plus downloads of OTel 1.0 since launch. Jeremy Legg, CTO, hammered data sovereignty and moneyballing token cost across open models and chipsets while consumption still runs double-digit growth, 300,000 calls a day just in the care channel, plus fraud, tower placement, HR, finance workflows being rebuilt end-to-end. Cerebras, 5x throughput plus extraordinary speed. Andrew Feldman, Helios as leader in compute and memory capacity, married to the wafer-scale engine as leader in SRAM and memory bandwidth for ultra-low latency disaggregated inference. Prefill and decode tuned independently. Available later this year, first in Cerebras Cloud. Cisco, one unified control plane across cloud to desk. Cisco Cloud Control manages the Halo fleet plus data center plus cloud, with tokenomics monitoring and agent behavior guardrails. US general availability early fall 2026. AMD's own IT case study, intelligent routing of frontier plus open weight models on EPYC plus MI350P cut token cost 43%, with up to 3x faster response for local workloads.
Dan McNamara also put enterprise silicon on the table. Instinct MI350P, air-cooled, designed to fit existing enterprise power and cooling without a facilities upgrade. Up to 260 billion parameters on a single GPU, more than 4x tokens per second per dollar versus competition, and 2 to 5x tokens per second on production enterprise use cases. The pitch is turn the data center you already have into an AI data center. Under the hood of the enterprise story, he also noted public cloud EPYC VM consumption growing at 76% CAGR over 3 years, and Venice spanning 8 to 256 cores, so there is no single SKU fantasy. Right tool for each workload at optimized cost.
Powering AI everywhere beyond the data center. Personal AI, Ryzen AI Halo with 120 gigabytes of unified memory running up to 200 billion parameter models on a developer desktop. Gorgon Halo takes that to 192 gigabytes and 300 billion parameters. 1 year of Hugging Face Pro included. Same open ROCM software scales from desk to data center, so developers do not rebuild when they leave the laptop.
Jack Yoon's arc made the category feel real, not marketing. Smaller open models are closing the frontier gap shockingly fast. He cited GPT OSS needing 120 billion parameters last August to hit a benchmark that Quinn 3.5 beat 7 months later with 9 billion, 13 times fewer parameters. Workloads that used to require the cloud now fit personal IAM. Physical AI, AMD Kria AI robotics brain on Ryzen AI embedded, versus NVIDIA Thor in third-party testing, 3.4x better real-time results, 2.3x more concurrent agents, 1.6x more CPU capacity, industry-first turnkey open robotics developer platform on ROCM plus ROS2, Kriya for the brain, Versal for the spine, XingQ for the joints, Spartan for the sensors. Autonomous robots get an objective and figure out perception, reasoning, motion, and safety in real time. Intelligence where the work actually happens.
Product roadmap, a predictable cadence of leadership. CPU Venice Zen 6 in 2026, Florence Zen 7 in 2028, Ravenna Zen 8 in 2030, GPU MI 455 in 2026, MI 500 in 2027 as the largest generational leap in Instinct history, MI 600 on CDNA Next in 2028. RAC, a new Helios every year from 2026 through 2030. North Star metric, 2000x higher inference throughput in 4 years. On track, MI 455 already delivers 35x over MI 355. MI 500 is supposed to bend the curve again. Customer feedback on MI 500 already called fantastic.
Florence brings Zen 7 cores, leading-edge process, new AI compute extensions, latest memory technologies, and the same family breadth playbook with workload-specific variants. MI 500 adds next-generation HBM, a larger scale-up domain, and new copper and optical interconnects. Put CPUs, GPUs, and networking on one page, and customers get a complete multi-year plan for refresh and scale, instead of a surprise every cycle.
Honest exchange time. Bull case, 14 gigawatts of named frontier partners, Helios and Venice already in full production, measured 20 terabytes a second and 20 petaflops on real workloads, ROCM on a 6-week cadence with Agentic tooling that is visibly cutting the software tax. Server CPU TAM re-rated to 200 billion because agent sandboxes are showing up in hyperscaler conversations, and a yearly Helios drumbeat aimed at 2000x inference in 4 years. If tokens per dollar and the open ecosystem keep winning bake-offs, AMD is structurally inside the Agentic build-out, not begging for an invite.
Bear case, from their own words and the gaps. Market numbers revise upward every few months, exhilarating when demand is real, unforgiving if supply, power, cooling, or yield slips. Benchmarks are AMD's power-constrained runs on DeepSeek V4 Flash. Hyperscalers will validate on their models and their networking. 14 gigawatts is announced commitment, not revenue recognized tomorrow. Conversion through late 2026 and 2027 is the test. Agentic CPU demand assumes enterprises productionize thousands of agents rather than stall in pilots with security and cost panic. Software is dramatically better, but every developer a ROCM superuser is still a journey, not a finished destination. And the 2 trillion TAM only matters if racks ship, energize, and stay full.
What to watch is clean and dated. Helios shipments end of Q3, ramp Q4. Venice OEM and cloud rollout in Q4, broadest EPYC launch they have done. OpenAI Helios scale through end of 2026 into 2027. Cerebras combined offering later this year. Cisco Cloud Control US GA early fall 2026. MI 350p enterprise attach without facilities rip-ups. MI 430X into Sovereign and HPC in first half 2027. MI 500 customer engagements and whether it truly posts the largest Instinct leap. Florence and MI 600 into 2028. Token economics proof points, AT&T style trillion token months and AMD IT style 43% cost cuts, repeating at other large enterprises, not just keynote case studies.
A final thought. Together, we advance AI. Strongest product portfolio in their history. Deepest partnerships in the industry. A roadmap that bends the curve. Lisa's closer. I've spent my entire career in tech believing high-performance computing can make the world an incredibly better place, and I've never believed that more than I do today. Headline recap numbers. $2 trillion 2030 TAM. 14 gigawatts of announced partner deployments. 30,000 plus AMD engineers building the future.
Partnership led, roadmap driven, full portfolio from data center to desk to physical world. That is the story they wanted the room to leave with, and the one investors now have to diligence against real power bills and real token ledgers.
For everyone listening, this is a thought experiment on a single company keynote and deck, not financial advice, not a recommendation to buy or sell anything. Do your own work, watch the shipment and deployment proof points we flagged, and treat the ambitious CAGRs as claims to be tested against real racks, real tokens, and real power bills. Thanks for going deep with us on CallWiz.